Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Christmas Eve edition of Morning Minutes, episode 340, with myself, Michael Bergio, Mark Novak, talking about how Limbo is deadly for a suburb, relating to a property that is in Limbo, and how one of the largest sales in Freshwater, Northern Beaches, for $26 million will change the game. Morning, Mr. Novak.
The 2020 highest sale in the whole of the Northern Beaches in Freshwater, done by us, Team Novak.
Good morning, Lee. How are you? And Luke, good morning. Alrighty, we want to sort of reflect on sort of who buys a property for $26 million and what does it sort of mean for the community and the area. And I know as we do a lot in this sort of market of developments, there's always that sort of pushback from the community or stigma like, oh, a new development knocking down and the potential traffic, more units. There's just this bit of pushback. But we're sort of reflecting, and especially this site in particular, and I sort of go, well, Limbo is more deadly or more impactful or more harmful to a suburb than the actual transaction and the potential of a new development. And what I mean by that, especially with this site in particular, where the landowner for the last 5 years has not been sure on which direction they are going down. Are they going to keep the building? Are they just going to do a renovation? Are they just going to do a full knockdown rebuild? So, and then what happened there was no long leases were given, no maintenance to the property or restoration. No love. And when there's no tenure given to tenants, there were no new leases taken up, no new businesses. And the property, by the time it was sold, out of say 20 properties within the property, 15 were empty. And that just kills the joy, kills the life of a suburb. And that's how this sale can really help. That's so annoying with the thingo.
Sorry, I thought I'd try something different, but it just didn't work. Getting a car wash while we're doing this.
It just failed.
Look,
Unless you mute it.
Can't be done.
Yeah. And especially because I lived in Freshwater. Mark would have lived in Freshwater and worked in Freshwater when all the shops were full. It was very vibrant. And I can, from my own experience in the last 5 years in that suburb, it just hasn't had that life in the shopping precinct. And I'll show you what we mean. I'll bring up where the property was located. Where is it? Just
bring
here.
It up. But it's you know what? It's interesting. Also, while you're bringing that up, go for gold. Go.
Yeah. So you can see basically Freshwater's a vibrant suburb, and there's only say half a dozen key buildings and a handful of shops there. And as you can see highlighted in pink, this is the main strip, Lawrence Ave in Freshwater. You have the IGA across the road. And when you can imagine all these shops basically not activated for a long period of time, it's basically the heart of Freshwater. Everybody can relate to driving down a street or a set of shops, and when all the shops are empty, you just think the economy's shit, the area is dying, there's no life. And that's what has happened for Freshwater in a long time. So, Mark, talk us about what type of buyer buys this and what the plans are and what it will bring to the community.
Oh, look, it almost represents half of the commercial precinct of Freshwater, so it's a significant sale. The landowner had owned it for 50, 60 years. It was a second, almost third generation holding between the family. And the purchaser is a private family that are buying it to develop in the future. No real rush on that, but going to be leasing it, getting the most out of it while they lease it, and then at a later point doing something with the site because it is a little bit old. But you know, it was incredible how much that sort of disabled or inhibited the whole suburb by having it in Limbo, because their current owner was just so I'm going to renovate it. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to renovate it and keep it. I'm going to sell it. He was really in limbo with that. And I think in business, you just can't afford to be half pregnant. In property ownership, you can't afford to be half pregnant. You get it rented the highest price, so you just don't do it at all. Just sell it. You know what I mean? Because it was in that limbo, it just put it into such a dangerous category for the property. And when you're talking a $26 million asset, this should be returning. What should be the return on a $26 million asset, Michael?
At least sort of 5% return, so 1.3 million income up to 1.5 million in income.
So, when it's not generating that sort of income, then the whole, that owner gets affected. The whole suburb got affected. It was crazy. But, I'm just so proud of Freshwater. It's such a resilient suburb. Michael, the rents, you've always said about Freshwater. So anyone who doesn't know where Freshwater is, it's one beach up from one and a half beaches up from Manly. So you sort of got Manly, Queenscliff, then you go across to Freshwater. That's the suburb. It's an incredible, it's a very, very nice suburb, isn't it?
Yeah, and just I'll get into that in a sec, but just with the rent a $26 million property could generate, that's how it would be around that 1.3, even 1 million. But this property could generate as is $2 million. So by being in limbo, not having those tenants in there, one, it affects your community with empty shops, but also the actual value of it could have been $40 million if it was fully rented, but it's been in limbo and it was sold at $26 million. And Freshwater has basically always had the highest rents on the northern beaches. It would, like, to put in perspective, even higher than Manly on an average. Yes, there are some particular waterfront properties that have a higher rate, but Freshwater on an average of all the shops, and there's not really many offices, all the shops would have the highest by a lot of the time 20, 30, 40%, which is huge. It's like a lot of people would think Manly would have the highest, or somewhere like Palm Beach, or even like some main properties in DY, but no, it was Freshwater. So it's a lot of businesses are going to love that now something has been done on the property and there is going to be a path forward. And as you said, it could be next year or it could be in 5 years, but when it's either going to help with businesses now renting it for at least a tenure of 1 to 5 years, or when it does get knocked down and rebuilt or whatever happens for the life of it as well.
And don't forget about Freshwater. I know we're talking about the rentals that Freshwater gets, but Freshwater actually does not have an ocean view like Manly or like DY Beach. So it is an incredibly high rent, considering there's no vista, no aspect, no view that people are paying for. It's sort of, although it's very close to the beach, it's still a couple of 100 meters inland. So it is a monster of a rent for the area. Now, this is the highest sale for the whole of the suburb. So we've got precinct in the northern beaches, which has a little bit of COVID at the moment. We've got over 110,000 properties, and for the whole entire year of 2020, this represents the highest price paid for any property out of those properties there. Guys, what do you want to know? Anyone who's watching, what do you want? Any details about this deal? What interests you about this deal? Can we answer any questions? Because it's pretty interesting, hey?
Yeah, it is. And I think they bought this during COVID. Like, you know what I mean? Like when a lot of people are saying, no, don't buy, and it's not the time to buy. When you see some of the largest transactions being done during this period, like it shows the resilience, but also when people are going left, you go right. And why is that such a strong sort of message in a lot of ways of life, and especially with property? Because property is a long-term investment. And I think a lot of people get caught up in the micro markets. Like, this month has been bad. Like right now, Northern Beach is going through COVID. So people are, I'm not going to buy the market. And it's like, yeah, a lot of people say, no, don't buy now. But look at it over a 10-year period, buying a property, that wealth creation, and buying now. Yes, now may be bad, But that then, if a lot of people are thinking that, wouldn't it make it a great time to buy when there's less buyers out there? Yes, it may hold back some sellers to go to market, but if you're ready to buy, there's a property you like, don't let things happening in the short term affect your long-term plans, because a lot of the hindsight, a lot of the best purchases or growth in a property have been bought in a time when people said don't buy. So I think
it is so counterintuitive. It is so counterintuitive to be buying. Like it's been a very trying time for the whole of the Australian economy, all of the Australian people. It's just doesn't make sense to go out and buy a commercial property. But I've got to say, the buyer of this $26 million property, I think, is absolutely genius, because that's the time when I personally think, when you double down, when everyone's running north, run south, or when everyone's running south, run north. It's genius.
Yeah, it is. And anything else you want to add to that, or I think it's a bit of a wrap. So we're definitely excited for Freshwater. Well, tell us, when you were working in Freshwater, you would have had all shops full and that sort of vibrant. Go through a bit of your experience and how it was when all the shops were full, compared to how it is sort of now. It's shared mine, but you've been there a lot longer than I.
I think when you're assessing commercial precincts, you've got to look at the demographics. I think you've got to look at the population, and you've got to look at, I think most importantly, people never talk about it, it's supply. Supply and potential supply. So a big thing with property is, if you've got unlimited supply in a suburb, whether it's residential, whether it's commercial, it's going to be hard to achieve capital growth. It's going to be hard to get shit rented. Allow me to give you an example. When you're areas like Mascot, or when you're areas like Alexandria, they had 200 units 30 years ago. They then multiplied in the last 10 or 15 years. They went from 1,000 to 2,000 to 4,000 to 8,000 to 16,000 to 32,000 in that whole precinct, almost, potentially. And that's in such a short time. Yes, it's close to the city, but that definitely chokes capital growth, and that definitely chokes capital growth, and also chokes rental yields, to get the property rented at a good price. Now, when we translate and impose that over the top of Freshwater, you've got to understand there are no new units, there are no new commercial, there is no new land, there is no new is hard. New is super hard in Freshwater. That is a secret to unlocking incredible capital growth. That is a secret to unlocking good rents. So, that suburb, then when you look at the demographic of that suburb, you go, okay, well, these guys are sort of fairly well heeled. At that price that they're paying to get in there, they could almost live in Manly. They opt to go a bit more family. So when you go a bit more family, it's a bit like Bondi Beach. You sort of, when you may grow up there in your sort of 18s to 30s, but then when you get married, have a kid, you want something a little bit more affordable. You don't want the hustle and bustle. You get a Freshwater, Fairlight, Balgala, those Clontarf, those areas. So Freshwater's nailed it for a couple of good reasons, and I'm really passionate about it. Believe it or not, people may find it hard to believe, but a suburb like Dee Why is still struggling with getting new development into it. Yes, it looks like concrete jungle, but if you consider it was sitting at 8,600 properties 10 years ago, and it's sitting at 9,100 properties today, that's not much supply being introduced, or that can be introduced. So the rents have held well and going up nicely, and the capital growth has held well and is going up nicely.
Yeah, exactly. And there was always a lot of that pushback, because people just have a bit of a negative connotation when it comes to development. They always think greedy developer or this, but they've got to make money. Let's face it, no one's going to do anything to make money. So there's that part of it. As an agent, yes, we like to make money as well. The business owner wants to make money as well. Council. But then you look at especially Dee Why now, with just how Meriton opened up that centre and that piazza area where you got the kids having lunch, people going for lunch, the open greenery area, like the positives. And I'm super excited for Freshwater to see what they can build, because council always want, with any approvals, to really have a big contribution to the local to the local area. With the facilities, could be more parking, the aesthetics of it, they have a big say in it. So it's going to be exciting. There was a DA previously for the property, which had about 30, 40 apartments and new shops as well. So it'd be exciting to see what happens there in the future. So
Super. That's a wrap, guys. And I want to say, in this special time of the year, a big shout out to Luke Moroney, a big shout out to Anmol, now these guys, believe it or not, a big shout out to Lee Woodward, Lisa Kramer, Lisa. Everyone that direct messages is us as well. I want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas. I want to thank you for your support. Doing what I do is very this show is testing, and people like Luke Moroney and Mull, you have made it twice as easy with your support. Like the amount of comments that you support us with every day, ideas, concepts, and you jog us along on this show. I just hope as hell we're offering as much value to you. Have a Merry Christmas to everyone out there, all of our viewers. Michael, Merry Christmas to you, buddy.
Well, and it's so true. Like we scratch our head.
A big year, but
yeah, like we scratch our head sometimes with the show, because it's like, well, because this basically almost takes up nearly 2 hours. When you look at from when the mindset of getting ready, you're doing the show, the editing after, like of our time, staff's time, it's a huge commitment, and it's really good, and it makes it worthwhile having like the interaction from you guys, because sometimes we just think, well, should we just be making phone calls? Like it's not the traditional real estate model, but we do enjoy it, and we enjoy that people enjoy it. So we keep plugging it along. 340 episodes is fucking huge.
It's big. But Merry Christmas, everyone. Enjoy your families. I know it's lockdown, but you know I saw a World War II photo of some in the trenches, some soldiers on the 25th of December in World War II, and it's true. You know, we are blessed and in a fortunate position. Although COVID is ripping through the northern beaches, majority of us are very healthy. We've got our families around us. Bless everyone, man. Like hopefully it's I got a feeling the COVID thing is rapidly on its way out by the looks of these numbers. But Michael, well done to you. But I know just to share with everyone, you've had spinal surgery this year. You've had a very mentally, physically testing year while maintaining a career, and even this show. 340 episodes. What the ebbs and flows of every day of what's come out of these shows has been. It's been a lot of work for you, and well done, mate. You're an absolute friggin' legend. Yes, super hard worker and super resilient. So, Merry Christmas, everyone. Love everyone. And anything else we want to say?
No, I think that covers it. Big year. Thanks, Luke. And we'll be back. Everyone's sort of got like a 4-day week now. Christmas, Boxing Day falls at a good time, which I think's a little. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot less drinking in public and everyone at home. It's going to be a very different Chrissy. So, anyway,
you know what? Let's look at the year. Let's look at the year ahead and get out of the year ahead what we need. And love to everyone.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
See you, Michael.